Boomhouse69 here, and I'm gonna do a video here and read this article I found interesting on the internet. I'll read it first, and then at the end of reading it, I'll give my opinion on it, basically, my thoughts. It says here, Ford Model A Club visits Seymour more. And it's on a website called the Tribune. I'll put a link in the description so y'all can go back and read it for yourself, Just in case, I do that just in case anybody has a hard time understanding what I'm saying. Because I know my voice is funny from being hard of hearing, and then people can go back and read it and understand basically what I'm saying. A row of parked Model A Fords gleamed in the sunshine, a throwback display of American machinery that once roamed the highways as a family transportation, but now are centerpiece vehicles from nostalgic car collectors. In some 30s of the Model A cars produced between 1927 and 1931 railed into the Seymour Hampton Inn parking lot on the 7th day of an 8-day tour in the Midwest, culminating the next day after a 1,100 miles. Most were shiny enough it did not appear they had rode a mile, testimony to the care such auto owners bring to their hobby and passion. Drivers chatted with a small number of local spectators lured to the site for the short stopover last week. Organizers John Menchie's, I don't know how to pronounce that right, treasurer of the Penn, Ohio Model A Club, represented by this crowd, calls the Model A the poor man's antique car because compared to many other classics, it's affordable at under $20,000, lower than a new car price in 2022. And at the end, I'll also show those pictures too. That comes with the caveat of if you can find a Model A that appeals and depends on how much labor it takes to restore it to semi-original finery. Menchie's may well have a kinship to a Wayback Machine created by a fictional cartoon character, Mr. Peabody. I've heard of that character before. Not only is he only the second owner of his 1931 Model A with 110,000 miles on it, but his great-grandfather probably invented the hamburger, even if that is a challenge in some quarters. Menchie's, 73, first met his other love of his life, besides his wife Mary, in 1971. It was sitting in a barn in Michigan wearing a 1961 license plate that came available in an estate sale purchased as a 21st birthday present from him by his wife Mother's Rose. He named it My Mother-in-Law. There was a certain amount of imaginary necessaries of what it could be when spruced up. The car had dents, dirt, marred the interior and exterior, and the inside contained ugly mouse and chicken droppings and a nest. It had to be restored, Menchie said. That took 1976, but ever since Menchie has had a sweet old ride at his disposal for trips like this. The group motored motored to various Abraham Lincoln sites in Kentucky and elsewhere. The Red Skelton Museum of American Comedy in Vincent's Venice, a winery in Nashville, an Amish village, and to Santa Claus in the southwestern part of the Hoosier State, I think that's pronounced. Wherever the Model A drivers go, the welcome is warm. People are honking and waving at us, said drivers are Ryan Pritchard, 40, of Akron, Ohio. Everybody's videoing us. Model A debuts in 1927. The Model T was the first affordable mass-production automobile when Ford began selling them in 1908. Now, for the record, a lot of people say Henry Ford invented the car. No, Ford did not invent the car. Ford invented the assembly line to make it easier to mass produce something. Ford had a vision of creating the assembly line to make cars cheaper. That's how cars became more common, because of Ford's invention of the assembly line. Basically, there would be a row, a line, and a bunch of people each putting a part on. A guy would put a part on, send it down to the next guy. That guy would put his part on, send it down to the next guy to form the assembly line. Ford created the assembly line. He did not invent the car, so to clear that up, because I know a lot of people did. Now, Carl Benz of Mercedes-Benz was the one that I say invented the car, and then there's even debate about that too, that who actually invented the horseless carriage. But I safe to say Carl Benz of Mercedes-Benz was the one that invented the car. But a version of the car circulated out of the manufacturing plant until 1927. This was as basic a vehicle as one can imagine and still be a car. Ford upgraded with the Model A starting in 1927, thought a limited number were made that year before the A became the full-fledged model the next year. These cars had either 10 or 11-gallon gas tanks, no air conditioning or heat, and no radio, but the green, black, red, and other choices of exterior made them appear as fancier than the Model T. The styling is much better, Pritchard said. Pritchard acquired his 1929 Model A last October, and this was his first long tour. He bought along his wife, 11-year-old son, and 7-year-old daughter. Son Owen, who rode in the passenger seat, seemed a bit distressed when in to recharge such things as video games, because back then nobody ever thought about cigarette lighter DC adapters. Even if they did back then, it would have been some high-end thing that nobody could afford. All thought Pritchard was quite concerned with driving a stick shift. When he traveled to see the car, the previous owner made him take a spin, demonstrating there were tricks to his setup. You have to double clutch, Pritchard said, and reverse is where one is on a regular stick. Electronics aside, Pritchard has already struck a long-term bargain with his son. Owen is scheduled to graduate from high school in 2029, and Dad has committed to allowing him to drive a Model A to graduation when it is 100 years old. I think that is great that the guy, when he bought the car, that the previous owner showed him how to practically drive it, because just like 10-speed semi-trucks, you had to double clutch them, because semis, you gotta do that. You gotta clutch to go into neutral and then clutch to go into gear. So yeah, I think it's great that he did it, and then plus it's nice that he's gonna let his son drive it to graduation. Might make him a popular one. Visiting with the past. This gang of on the movie Model A cars was touring for more than 1,100 miles on its round trip, but generally such models are rarely seen in large numbers unless an aficionado attends a car show. Only those in the know probably realize how fast these oldies but goodies can move comfortably on the highway. By highway, that is more likely a state road or a federal road, not an interstate, with a 70 mile per hour speed limit. Yet these cars were just 40 horsepower and can reach 52 to 55 miles per hour. In the old days, that must have seemed the equivalent of flying. Several area residents who got wind of the Model A stay stopped at the Hampton Inn to check out the cars. No one had better nostalgia reason than George and Vera Robinson of Seymour. When George, 91, was a young man, his father owned a black 1931 Model A and kept it quite a while. George and Vera were attending Clear Spring High School and met while riding the school bus together. But when they began dating in 1948, George's father allowed him to drive his Model A. I learned to drive a car on it, George said. That took them through 1949 in high school graduation. George joined the U.S. Air Force, and after 24 years, he retired as a colonel. But after 1949, he never drove a Model A again. He and Vera enjoyed reliving their past just by gazing at these cars and visiting Seymour. It had been a long time, George said, of the last time he was up close and personal with a Model A. Roger and Nora Dean of Franklin have 3 vintage cars from the Model A era and are looking to add a 1930 sedan to fill one more garage space. He has wanted these cars since he was a kid, Nora said. You don't ordinarily see 30 of them together. Given the need for delicacy in caring for something more than 90 years old and keeps all parts running, it was not shocking to hear the roads exacted a toll. One Model A ended up being towed home on it in the back of a flatbed. 2 others needed flat tires changed. Pitcher said the group is experts at that task. It was like a NASCAR pit crew, he said, of how quickly and inefficiently club members made the tire switches. Overall, Bob Fink, 73 of New Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, believes the Model A was built to last. He has owned one for about 15 years and thinks craftsmanship contribute to longevity. I believe that. They drove these cars into the 50s, he said. Look at the snazzy cars. On this grand tour of Model A, drivers choose local restaurants for dinner each night in Seymour. 27 visited Reed's Place downtown. Menchie's chef planner did not require everyone eat hamburgers every night. Still, Menchie's wears his hamburger connections as a badge of honor. There is no official recognized claim for who invented the ever popular burger, and there are multiple claims. In 1885, Charles and Frank Menchie's unveiled their burger at the Erie County Fair in Hamburg, New York. The Menchie's brothers hamburger restaurant in Uniontown, Ohio, preserves and Menchie's claim seems the oldest. An author named Christopher Carzosa investigated the entire burger history, debunks the myth, and confirms the Menchie's brothers as the ones who first sold hamburgers on September 18th, 1885, after they ran out of their pork sausage. He explained all of this in a book called Hamburger's Dreams, how classic crime-solving techniques helped crack the case of the Americans' great culinary mystery. The new dish was called hamburger because the men were operating at the county fair in Hamburg in upstate New York. A Model A John Menchie said he and his relatives never doubted the purity of the assertion, especially after he and brothers and sisters found a recipe in 1991. This is a nice storytelling point to make as Menchie cruises around in his Model A, thought he has a bonus tale to tell about his finally restored car. After 5 years and all of the cleaning and smoothing dents and the like, Menchie wanted his military green Model A to be perfect. He paid for someone to paint the rims an apple green, only to his chagrin, when the car was returned, it sported lime green rims or GoDaddy green. Intentionally, Menchie was disgruntled, but driving around, he attracted extra attention from the brightness. People would go, "Look at those wheels," Menchie said. "Now I guess when they see those wheels, they know it's me." Never mind, just wheels. John Menchie is pleased when people point and say, "Look at that car." Now, what do I think about this article, and what do I think about what these people are doing here? I think it's a neat idea. We'll go back here and look at these pictures. That's if we're allowed to. But what do I think? I think it's a neat idea. I think it's personally great that people are doing this sort of thing. I think it's great to see people out there restoring cars and bringing them back to life, and people, carrying on the history, because to me, I think it's important for people to learn history, and one way by learning history is falling in love with that stuff. I think it's great that people are trying to keep this old technology alive and stuff, and these cars and stuff. I think it's great to see people, simply restoring these old cars and driving them around, joyriding around. If I was rich and no one was money, I'd be gladly to do the same thing, because I really love these old cars and stuff, and think it's great what these people are doing. They're driving around, showing their passion, showing what they love and what they like, and I think it's neat to do. I, in the near future, plan on building like a horseless carriage of my own and stuff in the near future from scratch, and like my own kind of car design, and that's what I like is these vintage cars and stuff, and would like to do that someday, but build my own instead of just restoring a car. But I think it's great what these people are doing. I think it's great to see people, enjoying the old cars instead of just sending them to the scrapper and stuff, and send them to the scrapper and stuff. I think it's great that people are restoring these cars, bringing them back to life, and showing them to the world and stuff, and enjoying that vintage technology, the vintage cars and stuff, Heck, if I had the money, I'd be buying them and going around. But here's some pictures here. I'll click on here. Hopefully it'll work. But yeah. Ooh, there's a nice one. Says Bob Finks of New Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, stands next to his 31 Model A. Some 30 members of Pennsylvania, Ohio Model A Club recently passed through Seymour on an 8-day tour. So that must be, guy's name must be Bob Fink. But man, that's a neat. I like that little coupe two-door. I know some of them had what they used to call Pennsylvania, according special license plate statute of order American vehicles still on the road, such as Ford Model A. There's a guy, Ryan Pitchard of Akron, Ohio, shows off his 1931 Model A, which he attained last October. That's neat. John Menchie's is behind the wheel of his Ford Model A, the treasurer of Penn, Ohio Model A Club, planned the group's 1,100-mile trip that took the cars to Seymour. I know a lot of them old cars back in the day had what they call rumble seats, like a jump seat in the back, where you'd turn the handle and that would lift up and you would have a spare seat. And they used to kind of use those for like the children and stuff back in the olden days and stuff. The bright shiny wheels on John Menchie's Ford Model A identifies him coming from a great distance. There's those tires they were talking about. And it says here, the Hampton Inn parking lot Seymour recently drew attention from the curious as 30 Ford Model A vehicles from the late 1920s and early 1931 recently spent the night as part of a club trip through the region. But yeah, I think it's great what these people are doing, Heck, if I had the money and money was rich and low as money and had one of these vintage Ford cars, I'd be driving around everywhere, I think it's great people are keeping these cars alive even to this day, even the cars from the 60s and 70s and even the cars on back, and stuff. I think it's great that people are doing that, restoring these cars and driving them around just like they were intended, I personally think cars back then were built better than they are nowadays. To me, I feel like a lot of car manufacturers nowadays just are more worried about quantity than the quality of the vehicle, and wish, to me, I wish car manufacturers would go back to focusing on making a decent quality car than just hurrying up and stamping out a car and just, selling it off for money and stuff, I think it's great that what these people are doing, they're taking these cars and they're restoring them and driving them again, I think it's great what they're doing, and I think it's fascinating to keep this history alive and stuff, and especially to teach the younger generation, about these cars. I think it's important to teach the younger generation about old technology, so that way when the new technology doesn't work, they would have the knowledge of saying, okay, we can resort back to using the old technology, that should work and stuff, because I feel like that's in history. I feel like with the Egyptian pyramids and stuff, I believe that the Egyptian pyramids were some sort of technology that got lost due to the simple fact it was probably something where the technology became old, outdated, something new came in its place, and people were like, we're not going to teach the next generation about this technology, and so it's been lost forever. I think it's important to teach the younger generation how old technology works as well as the new technology. I think it's important to learn both technologies, the old and the new. So that way, if something freaky happens in this world, people know how to use the old technology and basically make life simpler and easier. So, yeah. So if you like this sort of content, hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. Comment below your thoughts about this article and stuff. Again, I'll put a link in the description about this article and stuff, and let me know what your thoughts are, and if you like this sort of content and you ain't already subscribed, hit that red subscribe button and really help out Boomhauer69. And again, I'll do more of these sort of videos later on and stuff. And hope you all have a good day, and thank you for watching.